So we are good to go. Well, Lois, thank you so much for joining us. This is a new program that we're trying to do with these very informal grad chats virtually, designed for our students to just kind of hear from you and for you to share some information. Faith and Amber, please feel free to ask any questions. It's meant to be more of a discussion. And if it's easier for you to type them in the chat, Whitney, I don't know if you're able to kind of keep an eye on that for a little bit, or Lois, if you're able to see that, that would be great. I have marked both of you for co-curricular credit, so you're good to go with that. And if you have any other questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. All right, well with that, Lois, I'm gonna pass it on over to you.
Yeah, sure. So whenever I do these things, I really like to ask the students like what they're working on, like what their programs are for, so that I can tailor the talk more to what your needs are, because use me as a resource. Like, I am here for you, so I want you to be able to get the most you can out of this. So Faith and Amber, what programs are you currently in?
I am currently majoring in international studies with a concentration in economics.
Okay.
But I'm kind of like tossed up in the air about switching, like majoring in economics and minoring in international studies. So I saw like World Bank and I was like, oh,
Okay.
and listen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I'm excited. And Amber?
Hello, I
Hi.
am a recent alumni. I graduated with my economics degree.
Awesome. That sounds great. So this is perfect. Like, the World Bank is like the perfect place for for the both of you. So let me just give you some of my background, and then you can ask me as many questions as you want. So my background is actually not in economics, it's in communications. So I took like a strange, windy route to the World Bank. But basically, I'm from Singapore. So back in Singapore, I got my diploma in law and management, but I realized that I didn't like law at all. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I was like, ooh, no. So I decided to just run away from Singapore, escape to Flagler, where I did my communications degree. And after that, I wanted to get my master's in something comms related, but a little bit more spread out. So I did a communication, culture, and tech master's, which was interesting because it combined very diverse like divisions. So after that, I got my job at the World Bank, where I dealt with social, urban, rural, and resilience issues. And that covered everything like across the gambit, from like social development, like disability inclusion, LGBTQI rights, indigenous peoples, and then like urban development, stuff like disaster risk resilience, so like earthquakes and all that. So it covered everything. And that was really fascinating to me, because these were things that I didn't even like think about before coming to the World Bank. I was like, oh, it's the World Bank. Like, they just give money to countries and fix things. Like that was like the idea that I had about the World Bank. But it was just so much more than that. And so now that I've been at the World Bank for 5 years, I've seen like how the projects have helped people around the world, and how you don't have to necessarily be like a econ major, or you don't necessarily have to have like an econ background to make a difference at the bank. So, and I'm going to touch more on that. So right now I'm focusing on sustainable development in the Africa region, and specifically like operations wise, I'm working on a women's land rights project in Liberia. So the thing with land rights around the world is that it's sometimes really hard to give the rights of people's land to them, because one, they might not have street names. Two, they might not have the right documentation for like different land parcels. And it's especially hard if you are female, because how society views women around the globe is so different. So in specifically in Liberia, we're trying to make sure that women have their land rights when their husbands die, when their partners die, and they're not just like immediately thrown out of their house. And I can go into specifics later about that. But I just wanted to give you an overview of what I'm currently doing. So a lot of the people that I work with who don't have an econs background, so they're not like an economist, are topical specialists. So what that means is that they specialize specifically in that topic. So on this land project that I'm working on, the person that I'm working with, his specialization is geography. So he has zero econ background. So it really depends on what you care most about. So if you want to be an economist, then by all means, like you graduated with your econ degree, so congratulations. Do you think you're going to do your do you think you're going to go to grad school, or what are your plans?
I think I'll wait for a job to see if they help me pay for that. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so let me just give you an overview of what the World Bank is. I'm sure both of you already know, so I'll just like keep it short. But I have a lot of students sometimes coming to me asking me, oh, where are the gold bars? And so the World Bank is not that kind of bank. Like, we don't keep any money in our building or anything. So what we do is we get member fees, we get donors and everything. And using that amount of money, we then redistribute it. We lend it to different countries for them to implement the programs. So like I said, I'm working on the land rights program, but there are so many other programs around, like building roads, building bridges, building trains, like metro systems and all that. Like all this, it's just multifaceted for what the World Bank is doing. And if you want to get a career in development, it's helpful to have your master's. And I say that if you're looking for a job at like the UN, at the World Bank, at OECD, IADB, all these like development banks, because it's so competitive, the minimum requirements are usually a master's degree. And if you don't have a master's degree, that's okay, but you'll have to apply for like a lower rank, and it'll be capped at that level, and you can't go up. Like, no matter what you do, you can never go up. So people have been maybe at the bank for like 30 years, but because they don't have their master's, they can't go to that next level. So that's something that you might want to think about before you apply to development banks. But if you do development, like smaller development or international, like NGOs and stuff, then you're good to go. Like, you don't need a master's to get a job there. So it's always helpful to like get that field experience, get that job experience, and then figure out, okay, do I actually really care about this topic like enough for me to get higher education for? Because I mean, higher education is really expensive. So you got to like think about what you really want. And because higher education is so expensive, you need to think about assistantships, like so research assistantships and teaching assistantships, fellowships, and just like other jobs. So I got a fellowship at George. So I went to Georgetown for grad school, and I got a fellowship there. And that helped me offset some of my costs for grad school, because I mean, it's really pricey. And another thing to help me offset my costs was that I became a live-in nanny. So I took care of children, like wiped their butts, whatever. But it paid for my housing and food in DC, which is also a very expensive place to be. So you need to weigh your options. But the reason why I knew that I wanted to be in DC was because that's where all the jobs are. That's where all the development jobs are. So if I wanted anything like remotely related to international relations, I had to be in DC. And that's something that you need to think about when you, if you do want to go to grad school, you have to look at the location, because yeah, name brand is good. Like if you go to Harvard, like that's great. But the jobs in the Harvard area versus the jobs in like the DC area, very different. And when you want to do your internships and everything, you need to know people. And if you don't know people already in DC, it's really hard to get the job, just because DC is so competitive. And my first week at the bank, I was just talking to this lady. I was like, oh, hey, like, oh, so what did you get your master's in? And she was like, oh, which one? And I was like, oh my God, like, oh my God. Yeah, so it was just like really, really bad. Like everyone is like overly qualified and you feel like such a doofus. But you get used to it. It's fine. And I've learned so much from my colleagues and my peers. And they're just like really fascinating people too. Which brings me back to your question on whether or not you should switch to econ major or like IR. And I think in order for you to figure that out, you have to work backwards. So figure out where you want to end up, figure out what job it is you want, and then go check out their job ads and look for their qualifications and see what they're specifically looking for. And what you're doing now is great because you're listening to me like tell you stuff, but to take it one step further, it'll be really good to do these like cold calls. So what I do is I do like a lot of informational interviews, mostly because I'm curious about people's jobs and what they actually do. So I just email them and say, hey, like you like the work that you're doing is great and I would love to learn more. Let me know if you're up for like a 15-minute chat or something like that. And that would give you the information you would need to make that choice on whether or not you should switch like IR, econ. What do you think you want to end up doing?
I like foreign policy and trade, so that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of an economic side, and I'm not like dead set on it being international. Like that would be awesome,
Mm-hmm.
but like, so that's why I'm like tossed up. But I actually did email one of our neighbors that just moved next to me. She worked for the UN,
Mm-hmm.
literally doing trade stuff. So like,
Mm-hmm.
I just emailed her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the perfect that's a perfect path for that. So you should definitely like pursue that and see. Yeah, the structure for the UN is a little different from the bank. So I had applied for a job with the World Food Program in Rome, which is part of the UN system. And because there's just so many like bureaucratic like structures I had to like jump through. I applied for that role in August, and up until April, so from August all the way to April, I had been going through their exams and their interviews, and I was on the last interview, but it had taken all the way from August all the way to April. So if you do want to apply for stuff, you have to apply really early because it will take a while. And if you don't hear back from them in like 3 months, that's normal because
Wow.
that's just how they function. The World Bank is like, we try to cap it at 2.5 months, so just as bad, but like a bit better. But that's the thing about all these like huge like bureaucratic organizations. It just takes a while. But once you're in, you're in. Yeah.
Where are you working right now? Are you still in DC? Or?
Yeah, so I'm still in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I'm hoping, I keep applying for other roles in the bank, but it's really competitive. Like, so I've been
Right.
in here, I've been in the bank for 5 years now, and I'm competing with people for the same roles. I'm competing with people who have like 10 years of experience, 8 years of
Wow, yeah.
experience. And it's hard.
Mhm.
But let me break down the different types of jobs that you can apply to at the bank so that you
Yes.
know what to look out for. So there are staff positions, there is extended term consultant, there is short-term consultant, and then there's short-term temp. So if you don't have a master's, technically you would be a short-term temp, like immediately, like you would be a temp like position. But if you have your master's or are in the process of getting your master's, you would be able to apply for the consultant roles. So it's just like a different level kind of thing. The temp roles are more administrative. So I don't think that's something that you guys are interested in. I think you would be more interested in the analytical, more like operational stuff, which would fall under the consultant's role. And it's not impossible to get a consultant's role without your master's. It's just a little bit trickier. You just need a little bit more experience, that's all. And so under the consultant like segment, you have the short-term consultants, and then you have the extended term consultants. The short-term consultants, you are paid on a daily basis, and it's capped up until 150 days per fiscal year. So what that means is that you can either bill like 2 or 3 days a week for a whole year, or you can like front load your days so that your contract starts in July and ends in February. But then you'll be jobless from March to June because you're done with all your 150 days. So that's something that you need to like take note of. And if you do get to that position, don't ever sign anything without asking me to like help you, because I will go through your contract with you and make sure HR is not gypping you or like trying to bully you, because sometimes they do that and that's not great. So don't ever sign anything without letting me look at it. But that is how the short-term consultant role is structured. And then for the extended term consultant role, that one's a lot better because you're technically on payroll. So you are not bound by the 150 days. You are just paid like every 2 weeks, and you have a lump sum for like the whole year. So you know how much you're gonna make for that whole year. So that is better. And you get health benefits, you get transport benefits, like spousal benefits, everything for the extended term consultant. But then for short-term consultant, you don't have anything. You don't have health benefits, you don't have spousal, transport, nothing. So you're on your own. And the pay is not great. So that's why you need to negotiate. And being a female, being a young female employee at the World Bank is sometimes an uphill task. So I've learned to be braver and to ask for more stuff, because sometimes I'm just like such a mouse and I'm like quiet and I don't like ask for things. But my peers are like, my male peers are like, oh, they're super unqualified, but they're still asking for like double the amount. And sometimes they get it. So like, I know I'm qualified. I know you're qualified. So we have to make sure that we stand up for ourselves and make sure that we actually ask for what we are worth. So that's something that has been a learning point for me as a younger female employee, especially since like the median age at the World Bank is probably like 45, 50. And they're I'm not sure if it's like more male or more female, but the basically the age is like much older because they all have like masters and PhDs and whatever. So yeah, you just need to don't worry. If you ever do get a job at the World Bank, like reach out to me and I will like handhold you the way through. Like I will not leave you alone. Do not worry. Use me as a resource. But I'm gonna stop there for now because I realize I've talked for a minute. So ask me some questions and I will be sure to answer them.
I just have a question. Like, obviously, I'm only a freshman,
Mhm,
so like I've got a long way before
mhm.
any of that. But did you get any internships? Like, were there any special internships that you had that you felt like were helpful or?
Yes, so I have the perfect internship for you. And this is also open to you, Amber. Just because like you just graduated, I'm pretty sure they'll still allow you to join. But it's this thing called TFAS. So it's called the Fund for American Studies. And I was an alumni of it, and now I'm a mentor, and I speak at their events as well. And they have one specifically for econs people. Hold on, I'm just gonna pull it up real quick because this changed my life. Like this is the reason I'm in DC right now, because of this program. And so I wasn't in the econ program, but I was in the political journalism program. But all my best friends were in the econ program. And I'm gonna drop it in the chat for you to go check out. So they have, I think they have 5 programs. Hold on. Here, can you see that? Yeah. So check it out once we're like done with the thing. And okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. So the one I sent to you was international affairs, but the one that you should look at is public policy and economics, or business and government relations, depending on like what you care more about. But yeah, my friends were in the public policy and economics one. Um, and it changed our lives. All the people that I went to, like my close friends that I met at the program, all of us moved back to DC after we graduated. And then a lot of them got jobs in like defense contracting or, like just everything for trade industries. And all of them didn't have a master's. I was the only one with a master's. So it's definitely doable. And because this program is so well respected, they have all the contacts in DC. It's been around for years. So you just need to have like good relations with them, and just they're so helpful. So you can just ask them and say, hey, like I'm really interested in specifically this, like do you know anyone? And they will like be more than happy to put you in touch with them. So the program's a little pricey, but they give you super generous scholarships. You just have to apply for it. So it's even cheaper now because there's no like housing situation, or I don't know, whatever. But for the whole summer, I ended up paying like maybe $2,000 for everything, like for housing, for like the classes, because I had to take classes too. So
That's not bad.
hmm?
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. And it was initially like 7,000, and so they gave us like $4,000 to $5,000 worth of scholarships. So it's very, very doable. And part of it. So it's a 3-prong approach. So the first prong is the internship itself. So they will place you in an internship of your interest. So they might place you in an embassy if you care about like international relations, or they might place you at some like, I don't know, some economics outfit if you are into that. And then, so that is the internship portion. The second portion is they make you take classes because it's still like a program. So they want to like indoctrinate you. And so you can actually convert that into credits for Flagler. So this is probably not that applicable to you, Amber, but like this is more applicable to you, Faith. You can actually like twin it. So you can like just not take a class at Flagler and take a class with this program. And so they usually link up with George Mason University. They used to link up with Georgetown, but then that partnership got switched to George Mason a couple years ago. And the econs professor is a little gross. He is a little pervy. So just be careful. But he's actually really well respected in the field. Like he has his own Wikipedia page and everything. But yeah, he's a little sexist and a little racist. So he's definitely gotten a lot of complaints over the years. So I'm not sure if they've like changed him out, but that's besides the point. Just yeah. So the second portion is the education like portion, and then the third portion was actually my favorite part of the program. It was the site visits. So they want to make sure that you are exposed to all the different like parts of DC that DC has to offer. So they let you, you have to sign up for it, but they let you visit like FBI, CIA headquarters, like the White House, like basically anything that you are interested in and they are offering the tours for, like you can sign up for it, and someone from that organization will be there to talk to you, like to give you a tour and a talk. So that blew my mind because I got to visit places that I would otherwise not be able to visit. So that was really great for me. And I would just never give up this experience. Like it was so worth my time and money, and it completely changed my life. So I highly, highly recommend it. It is expensive, but I think it's worth it. So
What year were you in? Like, what year were you in?
So I went for the 2013 program.
So were you like, you were still in college during that, right?
Mm-hmm. I was a senior.
Okay.
So it was the summer before like my last semester. Yeah. Because I graduated in December. And so it was that summer of that year. And when it does come to time, if you do want to apply, let me know, because then I can put a recommendation in for you, and that would increase your chances for more like scholarship money, and for you, and increase your chances to even get into the program, because it is kind of competitive. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they know Flagler kids, they love us, so you'll be fine. Yeah. So anyway, hope that answers your question. Amber, do you have any questions?
So you said there seems to be little growth potential in the World Bank?
No, so there is high growth potential, but you need to make sure that you have the right qualifications.
Okay.
Yeah, for communications is really hard because they don't really hire that many like comms people. But for econ and like the topic specialists, like they're always hiring because there are always more projects to be done. It's just that on the administrative side, so like the comm side of stuff, it's kind of hard because there are like 30 people vying for one job. And then for the econ side is they have a bunch of jobs, but not enough like qualified people applying for it. So it's kind of like the reverse. There's definitely a lot more like consultant jobs for economists and topic specialists than there are for communications professionals. So that's the difference. So yes, there is a lot of job growth, but you need to make sure that you start off on the right path, I guess. Like don't start off as a temp because then you'll never rise. So like start off as a consultant and then like climb your way up. It takes a while for sure. Like don't get me wrong, it definitely takes a while, but it's there. Like a lot of people who stay at the bank stay there for years just because like it takes time for them to level up. And then once they do, it's like the golden handcuffs. Like it's just like such fascinating work that you really don't want to leave that, because you have to see the project through for years. And if you leave halfway, like you don't get to see the results of it. So that's why people just stay for so many years. Like all my bosses are there for like 22 years or so. And it's normal. But if you're a staff, the benefits are really good. If you're a consultant, the benefits are really bad. So just take note.
Okay, and then for the link you sent us, Will the price go down if you already have housing in DC?
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask because I don't know now with COVID what the situation is like. One of the reasons why the housing is usually mandatory, unless you really have like huge financial issues. Like one of the reasons why the housing is mandatory is because a lot of the connections and a lot of the ideas exchange happen in the living situation. And so I was very averse to living, like I don't really like living with people. Like I like my space and I like my quiet time and everything. So I was a bit about the whole living thing. And after that summer, I completely understood why I had to live in that space with my other like program people. And so it was great. Like so, but now I don't know about the COVID thing. So maybe with the COVID thing, you don't have to live with people. So that one you might have to email them to ask. I'm pretty sure you're still eligible to apply because you're a recent graduate. But yeah, just check with them. Just email them, say that Lois Goh. Like here, hold on. Let me give you the email of the guy that you should email. Colin Parks. Hold on, let's see. Okay, so his name is Colin Parks. He's super nice. Okay, and if you are curious or have any questions, just email him and say Lois Goh sent you guys, and then he'll be more than happy to like give you details. Yeah. Got it? Cool. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
So I know you said you work on like, so is your job very project based?
So there's two streams to my job. So one of it is more functional, like communications wise. So I would deal with like specific like World Bank communications issues. But my second stream of work is more operational. So that would be more project based. And so now the Liberia project is like sort of done, like the funds were released. They're executing it right now. So there's nothing for me to do right now because the funds have already been released. But there's a new project that's coming up soon in, I can't remember where. I think it might be Ghana. So that will be the next project that I would be attached to. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? I can also answer questions on grad school, on, I don't know, what else can I answer questions on? Marketing stuff, I can. Let me see. Yeah.
So I guess if there was one thing besides like getting your master's, which seems pretty important, that makes you more appealing, whether it being an internship or like a job, like what would you say that would be?
So internships are important, yes. But if you want to go into like economics and international relations stuff, field work is so important. Like you have to do field work. So you need to get that practical experience. And yeah, I guess, I don't know. So you could do like a side job. You could do like online stuff sometimes because of COVID. But if not, I would highly recommend you spend your summers, your winters, just like working like somewhere and gaining that experience, because it's ridiculous how many years entry-level jobs ask for. It's an entry-level job and they ask you for like 3 years of experience, and you're like, but this is an entry-level job, like what are you talking about? So you can't wait until you've graduated to gain that experience. So gain that experience during your summers, gain that experience during your winters, like all through Flagler, I was working every vacation period. Like I was always working. And because of that, I had so much experience on my resume that when it actually came time to like applying for stuff, I think I got my job. So after I graduated from Flagler, I graduated like I don't know, it was like December 28th, I flew back to Singapore, and January 2nd, I started work. Like that's the amount of, like, I just like got a job like straight out of college. Of course, I hated it because I was writing for the Singapore government. Oh, oops, this is being recorded, but please delete that. But writing for the Singapore government was a really stressful period of my life. So I wanted to like go back to grad school really fast. So I had that job for like maybe 6 months, and then I went back to grad school where I then like interned for a bunch of places as well. One of the places that I interned with was, I'm not sure if you know Robert Gibbs. He was, so he was Obama's senior advisor, and he was the White House press secretary when Obama was in office. So he left the White House after 8 months there, and he started his own like lobbying public affairs shop. And it was him, Obama's digital advisor, and my former internship coordinator, the one that I met while doing that program that I told you guys about, and one other administrative person. So there were 4 people in that company. So I became like, as an intern, I became like number 5. So I had like really close contact with all of them, learning the ropes about like lobbying and like public affairs. Like we worked on Mayor Emmanuel Rahm's like mayoral campaign, stuff like that. So it was truly eye-opening, and it made me realize that I don't want to go into lobbying or public affairs. So that helped me like figure out what I wanted to do. And then another internship I got while in grad school was with the Smithsonian American History Museum, where I did like I researched and I did their digital communications. I wrote for them as well. And that was eye-opening, and that was when I knew that I wanted to do internal, like no, not internal. I still do external communications, but I only wanted one client instead of having like multiple clients. And that one client was going to be the company that I was working for. So those were my internships for grad school, and then my internships for college. Oh my God, it was so long ago. I worked in a lot of startups. So if you've never worked in a startup before, I highly recommend it because it forces you to take on a lot of stuff that you don't know, and it makes you make mistakes fast. But it's an experience for sure. And there I helped to bring the first like Bitcoin exchange to Southeast Asia. So I ended up launching the communications for that. So that was truly fascinating. Yeah, and what else? Oh yeah, and yeah, so the internship was basically mostly that DC one that I was telling you about, and there was a comms internship, a couple of comms internships, one in Jacksonville, one with Habitat for Humanity, and one with a mapping company back in Singapore. So just very diverse internships. But yeah, so that's where I started. And then before that, my background, before I moved to Florida, I told you that my background's in law and management. Did I tell you that? Yeah. So that was my first ever internship at a law firm, and which made me realize that I never wanted to do law, like ever. So that's why I broke my parents' heart and ran away to Florida. Yeah, in a nutshell. So yeah. Yeah, so let me know if you're interested in any like internships and stuff. I will keep an eye out for you. But no promises now with COVID, because everyone's like, it's a crazy state of affairs right now. But use me as a resource. I'm here to help you as much as I can. Yeah.
Okay, so your time at the Smithsonian was through an internship?
Yes, it was.
Do you still have networks for that?
Yes, I do. But I'm not she's currently with Smithsonian Institution now. So she's not with American History Museum anymore. And she manages the education and new media programs at the Smithsonian. Is that something you're interested in?
No, I just realized that the Smithsonian's could also probably use some data analysts.
Mm-hmm. So are you interested in data analysis work, or?
I'm very good at math, and that seems to be a lot of math, so yeah.
Okay, cool.
I would love to find something in econometrics if possible, but I don't know if anything like specific for that.
Right, okay, so hold on. Let me pull up some listings real quick, okay, since we're online. I mean, I'll take like maybe just 1-2 minutes to look at it, just really quickly. Okay, so would you be interested in something, let's say, survey, data analysis, and reporting? Does that sound like something you might be interested in?
Sure.
Okay, so let's see. So that would be for 40 days as a like consultant. And okay, so you would have to like clean survey data set, data visualization dashboard, something, I don't know. But yeah, that sounds like something that you would be interested in. You would need an advanced degree in statistics and econometrics and applied economics, but it's a consultant level 1 role, which, you know, you can just try. Like, I mean, and most will just tell you no, but like, yeah.
Are you just looking at their website?
Yeah, I'm looking at the bank.
Okay.
So the consultant roles are all on the internal website. So you probably wouldn't have access to it, but I can look at it. So I can like keep you guys updated if you when you want to like start looking and stuff. Okay, okay. If you send me your email address, I'll just forward to you the thing, because I tried to type in the chat, but it doesn't work. Yeah, so just like send it to me. But yeah. So it's hard without an advanced degree to apply for stuff. So I highly recommend like looking at that. I wanted to let you know that if you work at Georgetown, if you work like a minimum of 1 year at Georgetown, they will pay for your master's program. So you would have to do your master's program like part-time. So instead of 2 years, you would finish it in 3 years. But I mean, it's fully paid for, so that's pretty good. And I know that there's a bunch of other schools who do that too. I'm just not sure like which ones, but I know for a fact that Georgetown does it. And I know that because a few of my classmates went that route. So if you're worried about money, that's one way you can try. Yeah. So any other questions? These are really great questions. Like usually I don't get any questions, so this is nice. Thanks, guys. Like, awesome. Nothing? Okay, well, if we're done, I'm just gonna leave my email in the chat box, and you can email me if you have any questions or anything. Hold on. All right, perfect, cool. And I got your email, Amber. Thank you. Awesome. It was really nice chatting with you girls.
It was nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hi, Lois. Thanks so much.
Bye, Whitney. See
It was
you.
so good seeing you.
Yeah, it was so good seeing you. Bye.
Bye.